So thank you for that great introduction, Carter. I'm really excited to be able to join you guys today and talk about this, and in kind of kicking around what we could talk about today. I've been working a lot, as Carter kind of referenced, over the last year with different clients since in various industries. And I thought one of the things I've been working a lot with folks is in the demand generation side of things. So obviously in a COVID and hopefully soon a post-COVID world, there are a lot of different things that we talk about, even in sales and marketing. The brand, working with our customers and being in communication with them, sales enablement. But I thought I'd share some thoughts I had around building post-pandemic pipeline today. Get your thoughts back, obviously, and we can take the conversation wherever it goes. But here are a few ideas that I've experienced over the last year or so. As Carter mentioned, this is who I am. I've been I've been doing B2B software, mostly SaaS marketing for over, so many years now, probably 20 some years, mostly heading up the marketing organization at companies like this. So this just gives you a flavor kind of where I'm coming from. B2B, some security, some storage, but a lot of enterprise or mid-market business software. I spent most of this last year working with Castlight Health, which is a navigation platform helping employees, for example, find the great cost and the appropriate coverage in their health plan. And so it's been an interesting year to be going through a pandemic with a company like that. And for any follow-up, I'll put my data up again at the end of the presentation. But Clark at JCN Advisory, if there's more to talk about when we're done here. So I think the main kind of underlying takeaway that I've had is that COVID, it's changed everything, but what it's really done is just accelerated and deepened trends that we've all been working with around and grappling with for a long time. Certainly the kind of folks that are on this call, right? Telecommuting comes to mind, the way that we're having this conversation, right? So there've been all these changes to the social construct, all these changes to accelerations of technology adoption. So that has to change the way you sell, right? But to me, it really nets out to how much focus has been elevated from, we always talk about focus as kind of a competitive advantage or, a strength. It's really a existential business requirement, I think now, because companies have had to slash forecasts. They've shrunk all their budgets. They've reprioritized everything. So things earning their way back into the zone of focus takes a lot of work these days. It takes a lot of it takes driving a lot of value to be able to make the case. For example, if you're trying to sell them a new service or a new solution, and so I would posit that that focus has transformed companies in three specific ways. The first one is strategic at the highest level. So there's probably nobody on this call that isn't familiar with Jeffrey Moore and Crossing the Chasm and all this, but and his definition of an organization's activities being split into either core or context. Core, the things that drive differentiation and help you get more customers, versus context, which is everything else, right? And so, like everybody, the companies I've been working with have, they've had to completely replan 2020. Then they had to figure out how to plan 2021. It's February. They're kind of just now peeking out Groundhog Day style to see, how much more winter is out there. We're getting vaccines. Needles are getting into arms. What's really going to happen? What kind of 2021 can they bet on? When are they going to be able to get back to the Menlo Park bar and actually do business face to face and get together, right? So in that sense, in that environment, everything has kind of really been cut back to survival instincts. So, any incremental investment that I've seen and been around, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in a bit about this. All these incremental investments need to address the core. They're looking for consolidation, they're looking for savings around context, but everything else is on pause till they get through this pandemic at the strategic level. And so that trickles down, right? The next level is planning. So at the planning level, companies are struggling with more uncertainty. So there are many more scenarios they're modeling out, but they're netting out to fewer projects, right? There's just less getting done. All the kind of exploratory, investigative projects that we kind of got used to growing up through this, what was it, a 12-year economic expansion. Oh, I got a little slush fund. I'm going to try a few new ideas this year. All that stuff's been washed away in the pandemic. So there's just fewer projects, which means there's fewer opportunities for us to engage with folks and communicate the value that we can provide. And then down at the operational level, people just have they just have less time, period, and certainly less structured time, right? They don't have time to really consider new things, exploratory things. And even when they do, the lieutenant that they usually have kind of look at this stuff, has to watch their kid from 2 to 4 in the afternoon, or their Zoom is hosed up and they can't get on the call. Everything has just gotten more difficult here as well. Folks can barely get their daytime job done, and they're doing it at all different hours. So they've got less time. They've got less budget. That's maybe beginning to thaw now. So the exploration space is smaller. And then there's this work-life blender going on where everybody's checking in and out of their business life and their personal life. I don't know if folks on this call have kids, but you probably certainly work with parents, and it's just been crazy. So there's just fewer consideration cycles because of all this stuff stacking up. And it impacts the way that we engage at every level of the organization. And so I just want to quickly share some observations and guidance that I've been applying with folks, and then I'd love to open it up and get your feedback, get your other additional thoughts in this space, and we can take the conversation wherever it's the most interesting. But if we kind of work our way down the classic pyramid, at the top, it's just more critical than ever to understand the prospect's mission, right? And to be aligned with that. There's a lot of, you go to Simon Sinek and starting with why, right? There's a lot has been created, discussed, deployed around aligning with your prospect's mission. But, in a world where we're still battling COVID-19, how has that mission changed? And are they really moving on it? Are they ready to move on their mission? Or are they still sort of just hunkered down for now, right? How are they talking to the market, and what are they saying? And we can use all sorts of tools, right? Like, Bombora or Sixth Sense or something, to see what's actually being engaged, what kind of conversations they're engaging with in the market. But another leading indicator that I've really been looking at a lot is thinking about our prospects' customers. How are their customers doing? Are they providing a service? Are they providing opportunity to a part of the economy that's coming back out sooner rather than later, out of pandemic lockdowns, et cetera, et cetera? Are they online? Are they more virtual, et cetera, et cetera? If their customers are doing well, they're going to be more rapidly in market to be able to take advantage of this kind of jump ball market we're in. We've all, I think everybody in this call has been through enough economic cycles or enough markets to know that there are moments when everybody stops for a second to reassess, and those that are able to double and triple down as they come out of that dip can grow much faster and really can become dominant in a market. So do they have market motion in their customer base that will allow them to take advantage of that pause? And can we be part of that and part of accelerating it? And finally, how have their buying calendars changed? How have, this is something we looked at with one of my clients is, April, May was the big purchase. It was the World Series for their calendar, their buying cycle. And we zipped right past that with COVID. So what does the activity in the market look like after that? There's still a bunch of stuff that's going to have to get implemented probably by the end of the calendar year. And what are the windows? Where can we add value? Where can we participate in the conversation to help those prospects still achieve on their year with this new calendar in place? So kind of at the top level, I went a little long on that one, sorry. At the top level, aligned to the mission. Next level down, the CFO rather, sorry, pitch like you're selling to the CFO because you probably are. So I found this stat not too long ago from Chorus Research. CFOs have joined 92% more meetings since the onset of COVID-19, which makes complete sense, right? Everything's being looked at more carefully. And the CFO is absolutely going to be putting his or her fingerprints on some of these decisions. So more than ever, we have to make sure, we have to look at the campaigns we're running, look at the sales assets, look at the presentations, and make sure that we're anchoring to business value, not just awesome capabilities, right? It's going to get that CFO extra fine review level very soon and very early in the process. Meet them where they are. Look, we're online, so act like it, right? Online first for meetings, events, networking is pretty straightforward. But the other thing that's happening is, it's an opportunity to look at either new channels that your clients or your company might not have been using, or existing ones that you can put to better use. The Matchbox, I found a survey, Matchbox survey conducted in July, so it's a little while ago, but last year, since the coronavirus pandemic hit, 41% of weekly podcast listeners report they are spending more time listening to on-demand audio content. That's 4 times more than the 7% that said they're listening less. So podcasts have grabbed another gear during this pandemic. I've certainly been listening to more. I've been using that channel to get to more genuine, more timely content on demand when I can be there for the conversation, right? So, really digging in on these conversational platforms like podcasting is an important way to set yourself apart and really make things happen as we're coming out of the pandemic. Things are going to be self-serve. Things are going to be time shifted, embrace interactivity. A conversation isn't a conversation if you're the only one talking, right? So, are there technologies and approaches that you can put in place to make that, to cross the beams of interactivity with on-demand, time-served, time-shifted, self-served? And then finally, get out of the way, right? So how can you bring authentic validation, authentic conversations to your prospect base? We know that 80% of the evaluation is done before we even know that we're in a discussion with them, right? So, with that same reason, the Chorus research that I talked about with the CFO, another fact out of that, another stat, was that they report this 31% increase in the sales cycle, and they're measuring that from the first sales call to the last sales call, getting the deal done, right? So we have to help carry them through that expanded sales cycle. And so while you're doing that at volume in a pretty digital automated way, don't forget that the content and the stories have to have the ring of authenticity and applicability. And one of the things that I still just don't see used nearly as much as I would think, particularly high growth B2B software organizations should use, are these product review sites like G2 or Trust Radius or Capterra. This was a play we ran in a big way at Intact to really drive customer user reviews on these sites, and it became the center of everything we talked about. We became the customer satisfaction leader. We got out of the way from between our prospects and our happy customers, and it just did wonders for the business, right? So these are some, relatively quickly, I wanted to kind of get across a breadth of kind of top to bottom ways that I've been working with organizations. But, I want to open things up at this point, make sure we get our discussion time for a spirited conversation. I was told this was to be a spirited conversation, so I came prepared. I hope you did too. So let me know. What I'll open up here. I guess I'll pass it back to you, Carter. Let's open the conversation, see what you think about these ideas and what other better ideas you guys have.